Hi, I have in my hand a universal compression tool. It's suitable for use with F, BNC and IEC connections. It's from CableCon and it works with all of the major compression connections that we source from Webro, which are obviously a premium supplier of both connectors and cable in the professional cable market. So you can see the overall design of it here. Some of the cool features on it. Well, it's designed for 3 different uses. We have basically connection C, A and B here. Okay, so the 3 heads are actually screwed in here to the side. So it's very important, we'll say, if you're screwing and unscrewing these, that you don't leave them lying around. If you lose the connection there, not easy, source them independently. And the one that we're most commonly using is definitely this connection here, which is at the top. I'm just going to unscrew it here. And it screws out like this, and if we look closely on it, we'll see that the connection written on it, the type is connection C. So when we take it out of its stored position, the place where we want to put it is down here. And what I'm going to demonstrate this on is, this is what we're using with F connectors when we're putting on, we're putting on both connectors for CT125 cable and also for CT 165 or WF 165 is another prefix that's used for the Webro Pacific cable. So what we would do here is I pare down a length of 165 cable. So basically I have a little over 15 millimeters of core wire exposed. I have about the same of the white dielectric in the middle, and then what we have is the braiding pared back, and the overall outside dimension of this, if we just was turn on my vernier, I think it's about 10 millimeters or so. Just check that. So that's 10 millimeters there. So what will happen is, this is perfect in terms of the overall cut lengths for putting in here. So we just insert it here, and the connector we see here, basically it's in 2 component parts. We have the top section and the bottom section, and we have a little chamfered area in between. So when we push this up all the way here, we know that we have the connector correctly inserted into it when the pin that's normally in the center there is normally recessed by about 3 or 4 millimeters is pushed right to the top. It'll be pushed right to the top when the core wire pushes it right up, and at that point it's ready to be inserted and compressed. So we'll just come along here. I'm just going to try to do this while displaying what's going on. So we come along, and if we can just tighten it up a certain amount, and now all of the slack is taken out. And if I push down hard on this the rest of the way, what will happen is that this area in between will be compressed. It'll close in on the cable behind, and when we take it out of the tool mechanism here, it'll be locked, or it'll be rock solid. And we know that the central pin is making a good connection because it has to have made a good connection because it's pushed up the pin in the center. So it's a very clever design, because often what can happen with other types, you're not sure whether you have a good connection or not, okay? So that works extremely well here. I'm not going to actually compress it here simply because I'm too miserable to waste the connector here at the price that they come on, okay? So it's exactly the same process here with the 125 connections. We can just see the design is slightly different here, but it's exactly the same thing, and the mechanism would be the same. Now, if we wanted to come along, we'll say, and use it with different connections here, if we just rotate this around here, if we're using a smaller cable, we can use this guide here. So the overall length of the connector is smaller and the cable is smaller. And we just have the other connections here for both IEC and for BNC style connections, which would be used, but just not as frequently as this. The F connector thing is the main gig with these things here. So overall, we'll say it's a really good product. It has free delivery, all the rest of it, but these don't come cheap. You know, we're very competitive in the marketplace for these particular units here. But if you're going to be going into the professional end of it, you just buy one of these, and if you don't lose it, it'll last you a lifetime. So that's it anyway, an overview of the universal compression tool. There's F connectors, BNC and IEC connections, and it's directly from freetv.ie.